What is something nobody warns people about enough when it comes to having kids? Make sure your mental health is up to par when they become teenagers. I swear my youngest was going to drive me insane with all the worry she put me through with her mental health after her first BF cheated on her with her best friend after a year of dating. I worry a lot about the possibility of things like this when my daughter grows up. How did you handle it? If you felt invincible at some point in your life, you will never feel that way again. The mere thought of them being harmed in any way can completely destroy you. My dad used to have a motorcycle, and he sold it very quickly after my older brother was born. Said he used to like to speed and drive his car real fast. Too. Becoming a father profoundly changed him to start taking his own personal safety very seriously. There's a very good chance they won't turn out like you think. People seem to often forget that they're raising people as in independent thinking individuals whose actions, values, personalities, interests, and capabilities will potentially be completely unlike yours. I've seen a lot of parents struggle hard with that, and frankly, that's a possibility you should have made your peace with before you became a parent. In my opinion, I just saw a social media post that said something like, "Do you just want a baby, or do you want to raise a human?" It was pointing out that everybody wants that cute baby, but that part lasts 1 year. You have to be prepared to raise people who will go out and do good things and disappoint you and screw up and everything in between. You have to parent the kid you have. The books are fine for ideas, your experience, friends' thoughts, pediatricians, therapists, but at the end of it all you have this complicated little person you're in charge of with their own preferences, feelings, insecurities, abilities, and you have to do what works for them and your family and, of course, also raise someone who isn't a blight on humanity or menace to society. As my mum says, the kid hasn't read the book. Her parents tried to do everything by the book with her, and she hated it. She was supposed to have pigtails, wear dresses, learn piano and not go climb trees, and play soccer football. She saved pocket money to get her hair cut short and her dad almost hit her for it. Did she stop pushing to be herself? Nope. She is a strong woman, but boy, does she have some scars on her soul. With her own 3 kids, she watched what interests they developed and then helped them explore it further, and to not forget to keep an open mind about other possible hobbies, sports, arts, etc. I have no idea how to thank her properly for this. The days are long and the years are so very short. Oh god, my son used to wake up at 4 AM for a year and had no nap until noon. By noon I already felt like it was 10 PM. I call it active listening. It is really draining. When they're only another adult in the house, you don't pay much attention to the everyday noises. With kids you are always listening. Are they crying? Are they fighting? Are they too quiet? What just got opened, etc, etc. Gets better as they get older, but nothing can prepare you for it. For me, I stopped having a chance to think anything through without interruption. I had a very hard time with that. I couldn't remember anything, couldn't make decisions, etc. because every thought seemed to get interrupted. I'd just sit in my car alone sometimes so I could think. I'm so glad somebody said this. I was starting to worry I was getting early onset dementia because my mind just feels like mush all the time. I can't remember things. I start sentences and can't finish them. I forget common words. My mind rarely gets to switch off because someone is always interacting with me or calling my name. Parenthood does not end when they turn 18. It's for the rest of your life. Corollary: it stings deep when they develop independence. My girl got her driver's license and now goes out to see her friends all the damn time, just like I did at 16. Given the emotional investment of parenting, it is really hard to see them go away like that. I don't know what I'm going to do when she moves along to college life and I no longer see her at breakfast every day. Try to remember that your kid is a person, no matter what problems arise. Remember what life was like for you growing up in different stages of your life, and try to empathize whenever possible. Edit again. Remember to think of your kids as people. Obviously this method won't fix some problems, and won't get rid of mental illness, etc. It is one of the 2 or 3 most absolute and permanent decisions you can make in life. Once you have kids, you have kids. No going back. No choosing differently. No letting time pass to heal any wounds. Not saying this is good or bad. It's just a permanent decision. If you don't take giving them up for adoption into account, it's also a decision that does not just affect your life. Your children will carry the burdens of your decisions. If you can't make your relationship work anymore, the children have to endure the divorce separation as well. If you decide that parenting is too hard for you and walk away, the children have to bear the brunt of your rejection. If you are a terrible parent, the children have to carry the trauma of neglect or abuse. Please do not have children unless you truly want them, are willing to make sacrifices for them, and are in a position to offer them a life of love, safety and security. How important the years between 7 and 12 are for building a bond, one that lasts into the teenage years. They are so hard to listen to at that age with all the starts and stops in conversation, and they talk about the most boring things, but it is so important to listen and converse at those ages. They will grow into teenagers that will talk to you and be fun to talk to, but only if you can get through long boring conversations about Minecraft or whatever thing they are currently into. I can remember being about 12 and wanting to share my biggest interest at the time with my mom. That being Bionicle. By reading to her all the books I had been collecting with my allowance. Sometimes she would involuntarily fall asleep, but my god, she tried so hard to show an interest. I really didn't appreciate it at the time. Focused on all the times she yawned or fell asleep. But now 16 years later we both remember it fondly as the bonding time it really was. I once had to explain to the older child that we don't touch other people's private parts while nursing the baby. The boundaries change at different ages and it's hella confusing for the older one. My daughter is 21 months, so no privacy. She pointed at my penis while I was getting up from the toilet and said "Daddy's tail" and reached towards me. I've never pulled my pants up faster in my life. Edit and obligatory thanks for the award, and super glad my top Reddit comment will be about my daughter trying to touch my penis. Once they get out of the toddler stage, it can become extremely worrisome and time consuming to parent them to become good people. They start asking questions, and they form their own opinions. It's a very delicate balance between trying to get them to listen to important things and trying to get them to become more independent. It makes you think you are constantly messing it all up. It can be very hard to find a balance. They are always listening. They know more than they can communicate. They simply don't have the words and concepts to share what they do grasp. This will lead to a lot of frustration. The "they are always listening" bit. So many people don't understand this. My sister has such a shit temper, and the way she behaves and reacts to things makes me worry so much for my nephews. I don't want them to grow up seeing that and going, well, this is what my mom does, so it's normal. I lived with them for 6 months, and in that time, I did everything I could to make sure I always said I was wrong. I don't know. Let's find out. And when something irritating happens, you just go, well done it. That's alright, or whatever works for the situation. You will never sleep the same again. It's just different levels of fear and worries as they get older. Also, I stupidly thought once I had a child I would automatically know how to parent. You're the same dummy before and after having a child, and you realize how much your parents were winging it. Leaving the hospital with that tiny fragile little being was terrifying. C-section delivery, so they kept us a couple days longer. Lots of help from the amazing maternity ward. To the moment you realize you and your spouse are alone and now solely responsible for keeping this little baby alive. Practicing diapers on a doll doesn't count. You're ready when you can do it on a cat. My first daughter was patient and would just let us change her. My second daughter wants nothing more than to roll over and crawl away. There's nowhere for her to go, but she wants to go anyway. Nothing prepared me for the sheer unrelentingness of parenting. Every day for many years has to be finished with a dinner bath bed routine that takes 2 hours. Regardless of how tired, upset or unwell you are. Difficult enough if you've been at work all day. Yes. But also if you're on holidays and got a little bit sunburnt. Or been to a family wedding and overeaten. or spent the day assembling IKEA furniture and are just exhausted. As a childless adult you could occasionally say I'm just having takeaway tonight and flop in front of the TV until bedtime. As a parent, that's not an option. My wife and I have twins. Did you watch the Battlestar Galactica reboot? In the first full season episode called 33, the Cylons show up to attack every 33 minutes, without fail, for days. That's what it's like having newborn twins. You're exhausted. It's the middle of the night, and you're praying that somehow, some way they'll sleep through just one feeding. But they don't. It's the very definition of relentless. You can lose who you are while you're raising them, but it's so important to take time for yourself to keep this from happening. Also, that you have to teach them to pull their pants up. I knew I would have to teach how to use the potty, eat, tie shoes, etc. But I was so caught off guard about having to explain how to pull pants up when getting dressed. It's a tricky maneuver for littles. Yeah. One thing most people don't get, you have to teach them literally everything. And even better, they are not only learning the stuff you actively teach them, even if they choose to ignore it, but they are actively and unconsciously mimicking you at all times. So all the bad habits and little hypocrisies you have will be reflected right back at you tenfold and bite you right on the taint. Having kids is the best and worst thing I've ever done. Everything takes longer than you thought it would. Leaving the house with a baby or toddler takes an extra 10 minutes minimum to make sure they haven't shit themselves. You have a change of clothes and extra nappies, milk, food, toys, etc. Strapping them into your car seat or pram stroller is like wrestling with an uncooperative, strangely strong yet ultimately fragile octopus. Everyone says that they won't resort to screen time or frozen meals like chicken nuggets. In my experience, yes you will. Because you cannot keep the house tidy, have clean clothes, make meals, do grocery shopping, work, without compromising a few things in order to maintain sanity. There's only so many hours in the day, and so thinly you can spread yourself across the rest of your life. You may have to compromise a few parts of your life. Heading out to a friend's BBQ now comes with limitations. You won't be able to stay for a long time. And you might not get to talk to your friends as much as you wanted. Because you now have a small person constantly tugging on your leg to look at this, and can I have, and can we go home, and what's that, and stop talking to them, and listen to me. Obviously it all depends on you and your kid, but it can be tricky to juggle. They do stupid shit all the time. There's no self-preservation. There's no logic. There's no forethought or consideration of consequences. They do weird things, and there's no reason for any of it. They will take a direct route to whatever they want. And if that means walking across a mountain of toys, clothes, books, rocks, water, mud, then that's just the way it is. At the end of the day, you miss them, regardless of how your day went, or how close you were to screaming, or just shutting the door and walking away. When they close their eyes and go to sleep, you cannot wait to see them again and try again. Kids are hard, but we were all there once, and we were just as annoying as they are. When younger it can be lonely. My only other adult interaction other than my husband is the cashier at the food store. Also everyone is apparently an expert and gives you advice, even when you don't ask. Okay, I used to love that. I would push my kid around in a stroller with the plastic stuff over for rain or snow, or wind, and some person would ask if she could breathe. I would say FCK, is she blue again? And look at the baby, and then at the person, and then continue with my day. Kids suck up unbelievable amounts of time, money, and energy, and that's if you get an average child. If your child has issues, mental, psych, neural, it just swallows your life, marriage, free time, etc. Edit. My wife and I adopted two brothers. Older one is a trauma kid. Every minute of every day is focused on tiptoeing around him to avoid setting him off. We have found ourselves in an abusive relationship with a child. Lots of services, therapists, med changes, nothing seems to work. Anything that doesn't go exactly his way turns into violence. The lack of sleep you'll get. It's not just the baby stage. Obviously, it's until they are old enough to be trusted. The lack of sleep can make you such an angry person, especially over the years. I'm about 3 years in, And I'm so mentally exhausted. I don't know who I'm anymore. Everything everyone else said plus the process itself. People don't talk enough about the recovery after giving birth. Pissed myself for months and had to self-diagnose diastasis recti and find workout programs on the internet because even my female OB offered no help. You can also get a new butthole from tearing. Bleed for 6 weeks straight. Get titty blisters and dry cracked nipples from breastfeeding. And your core muscles can get totally destroyed to the point you have back problems. Is it worth it? Individual choice. I did it twice. Never doing it again, because the lack of sleep is the worst part despite everything I just listed. Love my kids an insane amount, and don't regret it. But there are times I miss my previously carefree lifestyle. Still wouldn't change it though. Edit to add, I gained a newfound respect for single parents, especially single parents with multiple kids. Parenting is hard enough with one kid and a partner. So mad props to all the single parents out there.